Hello everybody, welcome to number 27. I'm Jack and this is a Toyota Sports 800. Why on earth am I doing a review on such a quirky, strange little car? It's an 800cc air-cooled opposed twin. It's got 45 horsepower. It's not fast, but it was the first to do three things, one of which has never ever been repeated since. It's a windy, drafty day and I'm going to take it inside to show you some of the more interesting stuff. But before then, let me just give you a brief rundown on what this incredible little thing actually drives like. It's quite disconcerting for me to drive an air-cooled twin from Japan because you only tend to really associate air-cooled twins with European cars of the sort of 50s and 60s, notably the Fiat Cinquecento, of which I am a massive fan. And I wouldn't say this sounds the same, but it sounds very similar. So it's no ball of fire, I think we can tell that straight off with 45 horsepower. It is extremely light, at 600 kilos I believe it is. So it is an exceedingly small car. I am 6'1", maybe close to 6'2", and it is quite difficult for me to get in and out, but it requires a specific technique. But once I'm in, it feels absolutely fine, especially with the roof off like this. I think even with the roof, I would probably be okay. It's got a really lovely lightweight feel to it. The steering is ever so delicate. The gearbox is actually quite heavy with the shortest, stubbiest lever that I think I have ever seen. So I mentioned there was three firsts. The first one is that this is Toyota's very first sports car. At the time, Honda was already underway with its S series, I think S500, 600 and then 800. They were much more technically advanced than this, and Toyota had to be quite creative in order to be able to produce something that would compete with them. The second thing is, this was the very first car to have a Targa top. Everybody associates Targa tops with Porsche 911s, but the 911 was not the first car to have a Targa top, not the first production car. This, the Yodahachi, was the first production car to have one. But the other thing is that this is the only JDM car that was made in both left and right hand drive, and there is a really curious reason for that. These little Toyotas have a tremendous following in Japan. They are affectionately known as Yodahachi. Yoda short for Toyota and Hachi for 8, i.e. referring to the 800 cc's of the engine. The engine was actually upgraded from the family saloon version, which was only 600 cc. But Toyota really had to struggle to get this to compete with the more advanced Honda S600, S800. That was a four-cylinder liquid-cooled engine. This is an air-cooled twin. It was never going to put out the same amount of power. And the Honda, depending on which version you look at, was up by about sort of 20 horsepower. So Toyota's engineers had to be really ingenious to get over that inherent disadvantage of lower power. The first thing that they did is they made this as aerodynamic as possible. If you look at this head on, the frontal area is almost non-existent. It is so tiny. And that was also enabled by having a horizontally opposed twin, which was air-cooled, so an absolutely tiny engine. And next, they concentrated on weight. So the hood panel is aluminium, the Targa roof panel is aluminium, and the rear boot as well, all in aluminium. And I think also the seat frames as well. So some real attention to detail there to keep the weight down, which incidentally I've double checked and is 580 kilograms, which is really pretty good. So in terms of getting in, I have to be quite creative, and getting into the car normally simply wouldn't work for me. I can't actually get in it. But if I go in leg first like this, once I'm in and it's okay. exiting is exactly the same process. It's actually less cumbersome than you'd think. It's probably easier than getting in and out of an Elise, quite frankly. Finally, we get on to the reason why the Yoda Hachi was available both in left-hand drive and in right-hand drive, but was only sold for the Japanese market. And I can, well, I say now I can guarantee someone will find something obscure, but I think I can guarantee that that is the only car where that has ever happened. Production numbers, I believe, total about 3,000 for the Yoda Hachi, 300 of which were in left-hand drive. Now, Japan doesn't have left-hand drive, so why did it make 300 examples in left-hand drive? Because at the time, the Americans were still administering Okinawa Island. As a result, in Japan, you drove on the left. All over Japan, you drove on the left, apart from on Okinawa Island, administered by the Americans, where you had to drive on the right. Toyota wanted to sell some cars to the servicemen, and so it built 300 left-hand drive examples. That must be the only situation ever where a car is made specifically to tailor for a different administration in the same country. I find the Yoda Hachi a really appealing little car. It's got a real delicate lightness to drive, but it's just got some really quirky little elements of design that for me just make it something, mark it out as pretty special. From some angles it can look a little bit ungainly, but on the whole I think it's just a fantastic little thing. Thank you very, very much to JHW Classics for letting me drive their car. They provide cars for films, weddings, that kind of stuff. So do go and have a look on their website. I will put the link in the video description. And thank you all so much for watching. If you have an interesting car, if there's something different, if it's a project car, you know, maybe it's been in a barn for years, or it just hasn't been started for years, or it's, I don't know, anything that distinguishes a car I'm interested in. So it can be a special, unusual little car like this, or it can just be a car that's got some interesting history. Anything like that anyway, I'm interested. Do please contact me on Instagram and let me know, and perhaps we can do a video. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe and see you all again very soon.